What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Beat the Maze. It's EMB.
It's your girl, Tasha.
And we have a special guest for y'all today, Nzali of Zaza's
Kitchen. What's going on?
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you for gracing our platform this morning. So we like to start our episodes off with, just a little icebreaker. So we like to talk about our weeks. So Jaysha, how's your week been so far?
Fast. This whole entire week went by fast. This entire weekend's went by fast. I know I looked up yesterday and was like, what day is it? Is it really Saturday? And now it's Sunday, and it's for us to have this 3-day weekend and to be Labor Day. I don't really feel like it too much. It's been fine. What about you?
My week has been pretty good so far. Just been working, grooving, and moving and grooving. Nothing too much to report. How about you? How's your weekend? How's your week?
My week's been pretty good. I feel like I'm getting more organized, which is making me very happy because it's kind of a busy season for me. So I've been in my Google Calendar, on my agenda, and like my business stuff real deep, but it's been really productive. So that makes me happy.
That's really good. So would you like to introduce yourself to our audience for those who don't know you?
Sure. So, hey, everybody, I'm Nzali Scales, chef and founder of Zaza's Kitchen. I am a Georgia Peach, Atlanta native. Zaza's Kitchen is a food brand that helps people celebrate the joy of gourmet cooking with fresh ingredients through cookbooks, cooking classes, catering experiences, and much more. I'm a foodie, obviously. I'm a food justice advocate, Spelman graduate, class of 2019. I was a sociology major there, minored in Spanish. And what else? I love music. I love being outside, and I love to travel. So that's a little about me.
What's your favorite artist right now?
Right now, that's a good question. So not to be annoying, but Beyonce, but also honorable mention Kendrick Lamar, because those are the two albums I listen to back to back. But you ever listen to music where it's like, okay, I like this song, but now the song has a new meaning for me because the lyrics are just hitting different. Like Church Girl by Beyonce, I'm like, that is really my song. But also I love what's that song? Count Me Out by Kendrick Lamar. So it's really those two albums for me, those two artists.
I haven't listened to the new
I
Kendrick
haven't
album yet.
listened to either of those albums.
Really? You have to listen to. I'm a big Kendrick Lamar fan, but you have to listen to the album. It's really powerful.
I listened to everything except the last one all the way through. I got started and then I was like, I was like,
Yeah.
I'm teasing.
So how did you come to even liking food to go into cooking? Like before we even get into building the business, how did you fall in love with food?
My family, so having family with a ton of different cultural backgrounds. So my mom, her dad is Bayesian. My mom's mom is from the South, from Virginia, but she moved to New York. And so I think with growing up with my mom, she's always been super big on sharing different cuisines with my brother and I. We started eating, Thai food, Indian, Jamaican. We just always enjoyed different foods, but not only eating out, but at home. My mom's a great cook. And so her being a great cook, I was just kind of an understudy as an 8-year-old in the kitchen. I'm just really eager about what was going on. And then both of my grandmothers, they're the matriarchs of our families, but they're also really great cooks. Always hosted family dinners, Christmas dinner, barbecues and stuff like that. And so during the holidays, it was always a really important time for family to come together, enjoy food. And then my dad, I feel like my dad started cooking more because I became more serious about cooking. And he's like, oh, it's not as hard as it may seem or take as long. So my dad really be cooking now, but I will say my dad influenced my love for food in the sense of he's a very health forward person. And so I had the kind of best of both worlds in terms of the love for food, but also in a way that is good for our bodies. I grew up vegetarian. So there's just a lot of things. And then Food Network was also a huge inspiration. I used to watch people be like, did you watch Jessie, or did you watch, I don't know, Hannah Montana? I'm like, y'all, I was watching Rachel Ray 30-minute meal. that was really my TV. And so all of those things combined just really poured into me as a young child. And it's been something that has been like an outlet for me, in a creative sense, in like a therapy sense. And I feel like I just like, okay, I knew I wanted to be a chef because of all of those things. So I literally have a picture of me at like 8 years old with a chef hat and it says like Chef Nzali. So I like to look at that picture often, but I think it's been something on my heart for forever because of that.
So at 8 years old, did you see yourself kind of like where you are now? Like I know you always knew that you would be in the kitchen, but did you see yourself like, where you are now, I guess?
Honestly, that's a good question. And I think the answer is no, because I don't know if this is off topic, but when I was at Spelman, like it really started in high school. I always knew I wanted to be a chef, right? I would tell everybody like, this is what I'm going to do with my life. And then people start to get in your head. And so I had this friend in high school, this guy, and he was like, you're too smart to be a chef. Cause like I was always the like overachiever academic student, like principal list and honor society and all that. And I feel like I got a lot of visibility from that in different schools I was in. And so he was like, you're too smart. So I was like, you may be right. Like, that's like a labor intensive job. And I think there's like a lot of stigmas around that, like what it means, what different types of work can mean for different people. And so when I went to Spelman, I took that same mentality with me. And so I feel like the first 2 years, really like year and a half, I was really just trying to explore what makes sense for me. Like, where do I fit in? So that led me to sociology. And so I always love asking big questions. I feel like I've always had a heart for impact in social justice. And so I was like, this is a way to kind of itch that scratch of social justice while also like flexing my writing skills and stuff like that. So I left sociology, but I was gonna pursue that full time, like long term. I was like, I'm gonna be a professor. I was in the Mellon Mays program. I went real hard for that. My professors went real hard for me, so it just made sense. And I think my whole excuse me, my whole path to entrepreneurship, it's been very much so a reflection of how I view success. And I think I had this idea that being in the white tower of academia was the only way to like make it. And my dad is a professor and he doesn't have a PhD. So I was like, this is some generational legacy. Like, let me do this for my family. And so I was applying to schools. I got into PhD programs. I went to Northwestern for a year. I was very unhappy, like depressed, just didn't feel aligned with what I was supposed to be doing. And the first week of school, somebody literally asked me, they're like, what did they say? They're like, I could tell that you don't like this. If you could be doing anything for the rest of your life, what would it be? I said, I would be cooking. And so I still was in the program because in my mind, it was going to make sense. Like I stay in this program, I started a nonprofit that relates to food justice and my research gets used to that, like as backup, not backup, but as like the explanation of why the impact will work or whatever. Yeah. But I was just like, I feel like I'm forcing this. It's not fun. So when people ask me like, did you think you'll be here? No, because I thought chefing was like on the back burner. I was like, I'm gonna have a restaurant when I'm 40. Like that's gonna be my second career.
Like that's your passion project almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the answer is no. Sorry that was so long, but the answer is not at all. I didn't think I had no idea, but I'm very happy to be here.
So how did you get into the space like of moving from your PhD program? Because that is, like you said, a very big commitment.
That's a commitment.
To saying like, actually I want to cook and like stepping out on faith there that like, I know in college you were cooking still and like people knew that like, yeah, like I can cook, like moving from there to like actually doing it business wise.
Sure. So I'm very grateful that I started Zaza's Kitchen in college because I think it gave me a platform to be flexible with what I was doing. Like, I think sometimes when you start businesses at a later stage, sometimes people are like, oh, like I want to try this thing, but I feel like I don't have the time to try to figure it out. I think starting it younger, I was literally like 18. Was that 18? No, I was like 20. How old am I? 25? I was like 21. I was 21 because I started it my senior year. So I did this summer in New York during that summer, I made the Instagram of Zaza's Kitchen. I said, because I was just grocery shopping, and I feel like that was my first time really being able to be in a new environment, experience food in a different way in New York, and just, going to the different stores. And their grocery stores are a little different to me. So it was just like a very adventurous experience, I would say. So that's when Zaza's Kitchen, the blog started. And then I transitioned it into a meal prep business because I graduated in the winter semester. And so I was like, oh, I have some flexibility. Let me make some money. Like, let me just take a shot at it. So that's when I really started having a more formal business. So that was good. And then, so when I went to Northwestern, the Instagram account still existed, and I was still posting there, but there was no like business behind it. It was more so me sharing recipes, because at that point I got a website made by Kyler. Like, I had a Zaza's Kitchen website, I had a logo, I had colors and everything. And so that was just kind of me like keeping the lifeline alive. But there was not really as much time put into it. So when the pandemic hit and I came home, but I was still in my program, and as unhappy as I was still doing my program or whatever. And I was going on Instagram Live on my Instagram for Zaza's Kitchen. So I was going on live, and I was like, let me just show people what I'm doing. Like, I had never been on live before, but I was like, why not? Like, some people follow me, whatever. So I made big ziti the first day. Then I was like, I could put the recipe on. It could be a whole thing. So then I was like, let's call this Cooking with Za, and I will showcase, what I'm making. Then people would meet me on live. I would post the recipe. I'll post the shopping list and the grocery list. And the supplies list. People would meet me at I was like Tuesday at like 6 or something like that. And I did it for probably like 12-ish weeks, I think. And so that is what really, I think, helped me gain more visibility, and people saw how serious I was about it, especially because it was like nobody was paying me to do this, but it was something for people to do in the pandemic, a way to get Zaza's Kitchen more seen by different audiences, because we were all stuck at home. So it became more of a business when a Spelman sister asked me. She said, hey, I work at Salesforce. She's actually class of 2019. She said, I work at Salesforce. We're having a Juneteenth celebration virtually. Can you lead the demo? And I was like, I didn't know how to cook soul food for real. But that's so funny, because I got the whole cookbook now. I taught myself. But basically, I just charged her like way undercharged. I didn't really know what I was getting into. This is like corporate partnerships we're talking about, but so undercharged. But I was like, there's a business model for this. So that's when the classes started. I eventually pivoted out of the program, but that pivot was hard as hell to make, because basically I knew I wanted to do it. It was in the back of my mind for so long, like months. And I went through this program. So I went to KIPP Middle School in Atlanta, and they have alum support programs. So I went to this leadership and like, it was kind of like a leadership accelerator. And they accepted me. I really applied on a whim, like, oh, like I'm going through it. I think anything will help me.
Right.
And so I applied to this program. I got a career coach, which is like a career therapist to me in a way. Like, you just talk to her about what you're going through, what pivots you want to make or whatever. So I feel like having somebody to just hear out like all of my frustrations, and she can't hang the phone up on me or anything. Like, family and friends get tired of hearing you complain about stuff. So I was like, like, let me like let the steam off, and let me create a strategy around it. But it really took like a lot of staying still to really listen. But I think it's so interesting how it happened, because I knew I wanted to leave, but I would ask everybody what they thought about it. I was like, I don't really like my program. Like, what do you think? What do you think? And I think I wasn't looking inside of myself enough to really make that decision. But it was like I needed the validation to really make the jump. And I think that's what scared me, because I was like, I'm going to be the first PhD of my immediate family. Like, I'm going to leave this really amazing school where I'm getting paid to learn, where people sacrifice. And I think even the AUC, it put a little bit of limiting beliefs in me, in a sense of, we don't really have many models for entrepreneurship as a career. And I think they really train us to work for people. And I understand, but I think in my experiences, I really had to analyze, why do I even believe this? Like, I think in the Black community, we think education is the only way out. We think that's the only like route to success. And as much as education exists, so does learning in other formats happen. So I learn every day as an entrepreneur, like I'm teaching myself not only I'm a self-taught chef, not only how to cook, but how to run an actual business. So the pivot was hard because I didn't have like a blueprint. Nobody, I've never seen anybody do this in this way before. I've seen people leave PhD programs, but it's kind of like, then what? So it was very hard to make, but eventually one day I was going to go to class, and I was supposed to lead the discussion, and I'm always on top of my work, like always. And I forgot I was supposed to lead the discussion, and I was like, something's off. Like something's off. I ghosted my class. I just didn't go. I was like, I can't do this. So that's when I officially was like, all right, I'm gonna take a step back from this program. I'm not even myself anymore. So that's the backstory of it. It took a long time, but it finally happened.
I definitely understand that when you're making such a big life change or just you're just deciding to do something new. I can say for myself, like with pursuing my business, and I'm pretty sure Ian can say the same with pursuing his business. When you kind of are on the fence of it and you're like, well, you really want to do it, but you don't know if it's like the best idea,
Right.
you want that support. Oftentimes you don't receive that support. And it's not because the people don't want to support you, it's because they're just as fearful as you are. And
Right.
it's safer and it's easier to say, well, just stay and stick it out than it is to like step on the ledge and like try it. But I think the beauty of, I guess, of us literally being in our 20s is that if we were to crash and burn today, we have so many years to recover. We have
Right.
so many years
Right.
to try so many new things. And I think it's definitely a lot more comforting to know that in your 20s. And I can imagine being outside of your 20s, like your 40s, your 50s, and trying something new. But having the ability to say, I'm 24, I'm 25, you know what? I'm gonna try it. And then like it hits, and now I'm pretty sure you wouldn't even change it for the world. Like you love it.
Right. Right. No, I think it's so special to be this age. I mean, everyone always says like your 20s are so important. And I think this is why, like, you get to see what sticks, what doesn't. And then what does, you get to build that even more and maximize it. So it's like when we are in our 30s and 40s, we're making millions off of the ideas that we played with in our 20s. So,
Yeah.
That IP is important. That's a whole nother topic
right.
though. So I want to get into something that you touched on throughout your story. You said you were at Northwestern and you were just getting your business started, and you had the Instagram, you kind of like you had it going, but it really wasn't getting the support that it needed to because you were so just defeated, I think is the word, from the PhD program. And our audience is like, we really target the Gen Z population who are just getting started. So I want to ask, like, how did you kind of overcome that mental state to be like, I know that I don't really know what I'm doing or where I want to go yet. I know I don't like this program. I know that I eventually want to do this business. I just don't know how yet, but let me still just keep going.
Like, what did I tell myself in just taking that leap? Like, how did
Yeah,
I make
like
Mhm.
how did you, or was there something that you told yourself to find the strength to keep going and at least putting something into Zaza's Kitchen during that time?
Oh, I see what you're saying. So I think for me, it's all about, and I'm gonna say it like for me and just in general, I think it's all about your why. Um, a few things. I really value freedom. I don't like people telling me what to do, when to do it. I've always known that. I think in my heart, I always knew I wanted to have my own business. I don't think I named that for myself as a younger person, but both of my parents are entrepreneurs. My mom, she has a jewelry business. She also like hosts retreats for women. And then my dad, he is a band leader and he has a whole brand to manage. And so I think seeing them be able to live life and determine how people get to experience their artwork and like develop and curate different communities was something that was really cool to me. And I think that is something I knew I wanted to do because I feel like nobody is, not to sound like any type of way, but I don't really see any brands um embracing food in a way that like I really feel like I align with. And I say that because I think a lot of food brands get you with their marketing. Like they'll tell you it's one thing, but then the ingredients say another,
Yeah.
or they say farm to table, but it's like all processed, so it's those kind of things. And I think the integrity of like food really matters to me. And so I just wanted to see what I had in my head come into fruition. And I also think there's something else I wanted to say. You said like kind of what made you take that leap. What was I gonna say? I'm sorry. I forget. I
You're
forget.
good. It's all good. It's all good.
So you did say farm to table, and I know like you focus on specifically working with fresh foods, being able to pick it from your garden and cook it. Can you explain the difference between that, your style of cooking, and like others?
Sure. So I think styles of cooking is really subjective to the person and like their personal, I guess, what informs their experience as a chef. For me, being someone who tries to embrace health, I don't say everything I cook is healthy. Like I don't think macaroni and cheese is healthy, but I'm gonna still cook it. For me, it's like all about helping people experience food in like the most gourmet way possible, right? So like for my macaroni and cheese, as an example, I don't buy pre-shredded cheese. I'll shred it myself. Not only is it because I want to do the whole process of the recipe myself, but shredded cheese, pre-shredded cheese has a certain additive in it that doesn't melt the same. So it's like not just giving people the like ingredients on a list, but really explaining, which I do in my classes in my cookbook, why we do what we do, how we do it. Or even people always make this insider joke to me because it's like if you really look at Zaza's Kitchen, you know that I do not mess with pre-minced garlic. I don't like it. It tastes different. Or even pre like lemon juice within the thing has like this, I think it's citric acid, but lemon juice that's already pre-squeezed. I'm like, that doesn't even taste like lemon juice. So when people are making a recipe like a lemon and herb chicken and it tastes like chemicals, I'm like, I don't know what to tell you this is, but I think for me, it's all about just keeping things as honest as possible. And I say as possible because I don't have a garden. My mom does, and I get some of her produce sometimes, but it's like, okay, going to a farmer's market, like buying fresh herbs. Or if I'm making a tzatziki sauce, I'm going to get the Greek yogurt, I'm going to get the cucumbers, the dill, and make it myself instead of going to Trader Joe's and buying it pre-made. And I understand that's not possible for everything, like it's not really that realistic to like make a yogurt, you know what I'm saying? But I just want to show people that from scratch cooking in an efficient way is possible and it could be fun.
Yeah, that it's obtainable. I myself right now, I'm a pescatarian, but I was vegan for 4 or 5 years. And I think when I met him, he was kind of like, what do you eat if you can't eat anything? And it's like there's so many things to eat that exist outside of what you think.
You just have to find the time.
Yeah, you have to literally find the time to really cook what you like. So you have 2 cookbooks. You have Everything But Turkey, and you have Everything But Turkey 2. And I saw the commercial for it. The food looked busting. Was it like a real food? Like y'all sat down?
Yeah, we ate like legit 8 6 ago place the whole night.
Yeah, the food looked good. So how did those come about? Those cookbooks?
So the cookbooks came about because I was like, it's one thing to share information, but it's another thing to monetize it. So I'm like, if I'm already sharing recipes, it only makes sense. So there's that. And then I think another thing for me was I want something that people could really have in their homes. Like, how can we extend the experience online of Zaza's Kitchen? And so Everything But the Turkey too, I feel like I should probably put some stuff on social media about it. It's really just like I wouldn't call it a sequel. It's more so an extended version of Everything But the Turkey, which was the first I guess edition of the book, but I added recipes, the visuals are different, and that commercial that we shot, I think that's like some of the branding around it that I did. But I was just like, I think we should have more tangible ways to experience it. And I plan on putting out more. I think it's really a matter of figuring out which direction I want to go. Cause I have certain recipes I love to cook, but it's like I could feel like I could be stingy. I'm like, I don't know if I want everybody
to give it out
just share it.
Yeah, like I make this eggplant bruschetta, and it's so funny because I feel like one of the coolest things about Zaza's Kitchen for me, just as the founder and chef so far, a lot of people will tell me what they don't like, and I'm like, okay, like just wait till you try it how I'm gonna give it to you.
Right.
one of my friends, actually Morehouse friends, came to my house like 2 weeks ago, and I made eggplant bruschetta for us, and he was like, "I don't eat eggplant, like, I don't know about that." He saw it, and he's like, "Oh," and he loved it, like, he loved it, and it's like, I wanna help people experience food in a way that is culturally relevant, makes sense for us, but it's not forced. Even with kale, like, my kale Caesar salad recipe or sauteed kale, like, I feel like some people just don't know how to cook, but also, you have to, like, just know how to season food, and I think that is why the cookbooks are important for me, but we still working through some of the IP information and, um, yeah, but it's a timeline to it all, so the
So
streets.
I'm glad you said that. What goes behind making a book? Because I know there's more than just you kind of like making the recipe, but you have to actually measure it out and stuff. Like, what is the process
Oh,
of
yeah.
doing that?
So, first, I'll say, "Okay, what recipes do I want this to be in this, cookbook?" And I think it's really based on the theme, so, like, this is Thanksgiving, so I'm like, what recipes speak to Chef Za, but also what is something that people will resonate with? Because I think sometimes when I introduce certain things to people, they're a little more hands off, but then when I like actually explain it, and if I cook it for you, you're gonna be more inclined to eat it. So I think for me, it's like, okay, what is a healthy medium to put in a book? So for instance, like sweet potato souffle, or I have this maple and balsamic roasted Brussels sprouts with walnuts and craisins. And some people are like, I don't know about that. But it's like, I want to show people, we can eat veggies and we don't have to put pork fat in everything. And there
Right.
are other ways to do it. So it's really like me reflecting on what I want to put. And then the recipe development, that's a whole industry. So like R&D is what people call it. So there's chefs who create recipes for like a Betty Crocker or like a Martha Stewart, and those cookbooks are like years in the making. Granted, my cookbook has 12 recipes, and some of the recipes like I had already been working on, like my macaroni and cheese. I literally have lives of me like about 2 years ago. Um, tinkering with macaroni and cheese. Like I was like, I'm on a quest to perfect this recipe. Like I would research recipes and I'm like, mustard, nah, we're not putting that in there. Sour cream, nah, like let me try what I think works. And then it's like different iterations, but it takes quite a bit of research. You have to understand food science to an extent too, to understand like what reactions you'll get. And then it has to be pretty because you have to take pictures. So for me, I kind of have like it's like a method to my madness, I guess. If you see me in my R&D, it's crazy. I'm like having a notebook out. I'm like writing everything down, Xing stuff out. Like, no, this measurement works. Because with my sweet potato souffle recipe, for instance, I was recording while I was doing a recipe. That's stressful because you don't even know what you're doing all the way, but you're still like trying to document the process. I
Mhm.
mean, that's kind of to be more efficient so you don't have to make things 3 and 4 times. But for that, for instance, with the actual mashed potato part, okay, I got 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, needs more orange juice, need some salt. And it's like you're just constantly adding different amounts till it tastes how you want. And you
Right.
write it down and you try to make sense of all your notes that are scratched up. You got a little food on them, and then you type them out, and then you got to take the pictures, and if you want to do video content you got to do that. So it's a lot that goes into it, but it's honestly fun and very rewarding. And then after the book is together and you've designed it how you want it or whatever, you got to upload it. I self-published, but my the publisher that I used, like I have to make sure everything's a certain dimension. The title was the cover page was a whole thing because that's why I had to do the photo shoot. So that photo came from it. And it's like, okay, making sure it looks right, making sure the wording is right, I have the right fonts, like getting it copyrighted. And I also want to put it in like you can put your book in Barnes and Nobles, on Amazon, and that's kind of my next step. Haven't really gotten just time to really study the process, but that's what I want to do. But there's a lot that goes into it.
And you did all the graphics for your book yourself, correct?
I did.
So how oh I had a question. It just escaped me. How do you get to the point of like I have to do everything myself versus because some people are like, oh, I just want to outsource it. I just
Yeah.
do my graphics, you do my website,
Like
you
with the
do
process.
yeah. So
Yeah.
Yeah, how do you decipher versus like what do you want to do in-house versus what do you want to outsource?
That's a good question. For me, I'm really big on visual branding. Like, if it don't look good, I just can't put Zaza Kitchen behind it. And for me, I was just telling my friend who's a graphic designer. I have two really good friends who are both amazing graphic designers. And for me, I've always loved graphic design. Like when I was little, we would be in elementary school, like on the little MacBooks, on some program they would have. And I was just like playing with different fonts and colors. So I feel like for me, it's always just been something I enjoy. I don't always have the time to do it, which is why certain things I do delegate or like will get like a freelancer to do it. I did this couples cooking class and got the cutest animation done. And I can't do stuff like that. And it's like if I have a vision for something, I want to execute it. If or if not, if you know what I'm trying to say, if I can do it or if I can't do it, I still want it to happen. But I think it's all about knowing your strengths. Like if you're not gonna do it the best, don't even try to stress yourself out. So I can't videotape myself or like do my own. I don't try to do my own photo shoots because I don't have the equipment all the way for that. So it's like I feel comfortable spending money and investing to do something like that. But I am a one woman show. It's not sustainable all the time, especially as I begin to scale. But I'm recognizing like different ways. Like the friend I just mentioned is a graphic designer. She's like, "Oh, Za, I want to do your branding for because I have a campaign coming up in late October, Zaza's Giving." And she's like, "I want to do your branding for it." I said, "Okay." And it felt like a prayer answered because I'm like, Lord knows I got so many things, so many other things to plan for. So it's like, well, I can do it. I think it's all about being realistic with my time and being strategic to make sure I'm hitting my goals. And sometimes it costs, but it's like the opportunity cost is going to be worth it because it's generating more income for Zaza's Kitchen. So,
Right.
Yeah. So I have a random question. What do you do with all the food? Like, do you just eat all this food or like, because I know like
It's
with him
actually a
and
very important question.
his baking, he'll like bake a lot, but like it's just us in the house.
just get in there. Yeah. No, I feel I feel that. So I don't always like to eat what I cook, which is like a funny thing about me. Like
That's
I really don't like to eat a lot of carbs. I don't do a lot of dairy. Like I'm just particular about what I eat just for my personal, I guess, health and
Yeah.
energy levels and all that. And I do believe we should all be eating according to what our bodies tell us. And so sometimes there is like a conflict because it's like, oh, I do got all this creamy pasta that I don't even freaking order when I go out or eat myself. But
Right.
I'll give it to friends and family. Do y'all live in Atlanta?
Yeah.
I could give it to y'all one day. Serious. Like sometimes I'll just text friends like, hey, like you can come get this. But it depends on what it is. And something I've been wanting to do is like give more food to the homeless. Um, I have to think about like how I would do that. So yeah, but that's been a thought too, because I do think there's like a need for sure in the Atlanta area. But I give it away. And then when I cater, it's like they usually take the food, but for content, I don't always eat it.
So you talk about catering. What's that like? Like I feel like I would be nervous to cook for people. Like you probably get the list of like allergies and stuff, so you know what not to cook. But like, you just gotta hope the people really like it when you finish it up.
Well, that you bring up a good point. And I think with anything, you got to be confident about it. If you are nervous about it, they're going to be nervous eating it. So for me, one, I just really make sure like I put like even the way I present it, the way I look when I go to my caterings, like I want everything to align, even to the point where I don't like styrofoam plates. You're not gonna see those at my events. I don't even use those at my own house. Okay. I sound like such a spellbender right now.
No, that's real though. We don't just start.
Like I do not. There's just certain things that I just feel like I would not do. Or like I had a salad bar the other day, like early August actually. And it was so cute. It was like, oh, lettuce, spinach, you want pulled chicken, you want tuna salad, like you pick whatever. For that, it's like I have legit ceramic bowls for everything. Like I could have definitely put that in plastic. So I think it's all about like how people are experiencing your food beyond the taste, which is important. But catering is a lot of logistics. Again, I've not worked in a like big catering company before, so I'm in the business of self-learning. So it's like, okay, what supplies do I need? For instance, I have a catering coming up September 20th. I'm doing breakfast and lunch for 30 people. they want wraps. So I'm like, okay, that means I got to get deli paper. That means I have to get the little like spatulas to put like mustard and stuff on. Like there's just a lot. You're always having to think of the best way to execute something in a way that's cost effective, time efficient. Um, yeah, it's strategic. I think I'm like really understanding my own process behind it, which looks like a Google Documents, which everything for me is like in a doc. So for that, it's like I'm writing a timeline of my day. If they want to eat at 8 a.m., I gotta probably get there at 6 to set up and then put the food out and make sure it's cold or hot or whatever I'm doing. Making sure I have help. That's another thing with delegating. I have a catering team. I cannot do like big events alone. I've tried. It's stressful as hell. Like catering is a different level of stress, but it's worth it. It's worth it. It's worth it. But it's just a lot of components. But to your point about the menu, as a chef, I feel like I'm a creative in terms of how I like to pair different flavors. Like for instance, I'm doing this farm to table dinner and on this farm called Gilliam Farms. And basically it's in the West End. You know Gilliam?
I'm not familiar.
It's right off of like, I think the street is like Oakland. It's not far from Campbellton Road. But for that, I went crazy with the menu. Like, well, not crazy, but it's pretty creative. I'm doing a maple and miso glazed eggplant. And then I'm making these summer rolls with this actually like black owned brand of like this Caribbean spice called Taino. And then I'm gonna like add some Daikon to it, cucumbers, what else? Mint, culantro. It's just like a lot of freshness,
I
herbiness.
don't even know what all of these
I
are.
was just about to ask you. So I've had well, at least I've been presented with daikon, but I didn't get it because no one could explain it to me. What is daikon?
To me, it's like a radish, but it's sweet. It's like to me, radishes are a little peppery, like arugula in a way. Daikon is like a radish, but it's sweeter. So have y'all ever been to Korean barbecue?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have it there. It's like the white vegetable thing.
Oh.
It's really good. Like every time I go, well, I've only been to Korean barbecue once, but other Asian restaurants have it in different dishes. It's really good.
Okay.
Really
okay.
good. So you've catered for a few people now. You've done private catering, you do corporate catering. Did you ever have a moment where you were like, oh shit, like I'm really doing this? Like this is really happening.
Yeah, every day, honestly, because sometimes I'd be like, I don't know how the hell I'm pulling all this off, but I just don't overthink it. I just keep doing it, keep being in my docs and scheduling myself to do different things. I think I'm very happy with where I am with Zaza's Kitchen right now. Like if we did this podcast 3 months ago, I don't think I would have had the clarity on how to explain what I do. And I think that's really important in having a business. I think it was like, I know I do food and I cater, but I also do cooking classes. Like, how does everything support each other? But I'm like, I'm a food brand and you can experience my offerings in different ways. You can watch it on YouTube. You can taste it through catering. You can teach yourself through a cooking class or cookbook. And so that's why I say celebrating gourmet food with fresh ingredients, because you can celebrate in a way that is best fit for you. So, and I think of it as like all of these are Zaza's Kitchen's different products. So I'm just thinking about like, what do I want the future of these products to look like? I do want more people to know about Zaza's Kitchen and more people will, but how will I continue to expand in a way that makes sense? Because I think I don't want my business to move too fast in a way that I can't sustain it anymore. Granted, it is a lot right now, but it's something that I'm like learning my groove in. But I do know I'm going to have to hire like a cooking team for catering. Like eventually I want to get to a place where I have a commercial kitchen. Let me make the menu. We have an account manager who sends over the invoice contract. Okay, y'all cook this, y'all deliver it on my behalf. It makes sure it looks good, it tastes good. We'll have a recipe book so y'all aren't effing up the like quality, because quality control is really important. So yeah, that's just kind of where my mind is. But I think there's like a lot to it, but also I make sure I don't burn myself out. I've definitely burnt myself out a few times, like definitely. And it's not a good place for me to be because it's overwhelming, but it's like life doesn't stop when you get burnt out. So I think for me, it's like, okay, like just the other day, I have to work from 11 to 4 on what day is that? Wednesday, right? I have a project I'm working on. Then somebody was like, "Oh, can you cater breakfast?" The old me would have said yes. I would have catered the breakfast to then go somewhere else for 11. But it's like you can't say yes to everything, even if you sometimes do need the money, because it's gonna come in a different way. So I think it's just like reminding yourself to like keep going, but don't overdo it.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. And I guess as we wrap this up, where do you see Zaza's Kitchen in the next 2 years?
Good question. Okay. So Zaza's Kitchen, we are going to have subscription classes. So you're going to be able to select like which plan you want. It's gonna be digital. You're gonna be able to stream on demand classes live and recorded. So that's the next move for the classes, which will be for the public in 2 years. What else? So another product I'll talk about is Zaza's Cooking Academy. That is like my favorite. Well, they're all my favorite, but that is like one of my like closest to my heart things I do. I teach kids how to cook. And so everything that I'm doing is really to help the next generation better understand how do we make better food choices to support our futures, to help the statistics of the Black community with obesity, with heart disease, and so many things that affect us health wise. And it's all in what we eat, and we all know this. But I think something that really bothers me is like who's teaching you the actual skill sets. And with kids, I teach them culinary fundamentals, so knife skills, how to prep, how to clean, like all these different things through seasonal recipes. So I'm about to actually launch my class next Monday, and the first class will be October 1st. So that's coming up. I've like just been redesigning how I'm doing them. So something else that in the next 2 years, I'll have corporates, not only sponsors, but partners to where y'all are taking classes with me, but 5% of these proceeds for these classes will go to Zaza's Cooking Academy to help people who can't afford, well, families who can't afford the classes. You know, 'cause I think it's really important and pertinent information, but not everyone has access. So that's where we'll be in the next 2 years. And then we'll be operating out of a commercial kitchen for catering. So
I love
That's
it. I love it.
amazing.
thank
Yay.
you.
We're gonna have to follow up with you.
For
And
sure, for sure. Y'all could do a dinner for two or something like that.
you know, I'm gonna talk to you about my birthday.
Yes, 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 yes. Ian told me the date.
Yeah.
I got it written down already. Y'all are on it.
Zad, thank you so much for coming on Beat the Maze and just telling the people how you've been beating your maze and continue to beat your maze every day. I think it's important. I think your story is wonderful. I think it's, you know, it's quintessential to what pivoting looks like, especially for so many people that might be starting a job, that might be doing a master's program, PhD program, that are just like, I want better for myself. I want to just do what I love and
For
still
sure.
have a, you know, make a purpose for myself. So thank you for sharing.
No,
your
thank
story.
y'all. Thank y'all for having me. This was fun.
Thank you. So before we even conclude, we always do this one thing on every episode.
Yes, we do.
And we have you drop a bag drop. We call them bag drops. You drop a piece of knowledge with our audience. Say this entire time they've been listening, but they didn't really get nothing. They didn't hear it.
They're not listening.
They obviously weren't listening. You would drop your last piece of knowledge, your last piece of word on the stage before you drop the mic and walk off. What is your bag drop?
So bag drop.
Yes.
Bag drop.
Okay, so my bag drop is don't stray away from your values. So nobody can ever tell you how to accomplish your goals because they don't have your internal compass. And so for me, freedom is really important in everything I do. I want to be able to live my life on my own terms. But if you're interested in getting into entrepreneurship, I can't tell you what that means for you. So I think it's all about getting out of your head and really start acting on your ideas to see the future you want for yourself. I think so many people are led by fear and they're scared to take the chance. So this is just my push, my gentle push to get out of your head and just get shit done.
I like
That's
that.
your backdrop.
Well, thank you so much for coming on Speak the Maze podcast. Where can our audience find you on your socials?
So you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at Zaza's Kitchen. I'm also on Facebook. And you can also find me on www.zazaskitchen.com. There you'll see all of my services. You'll see the catering and dining portions of Zaza's Kitchen, as well as the cooking classes and recipes. If you want my weekly updates, subscribe to my newsletter. Just scroll to the bottom of the website and you'll be able to get everything you need there.
For
And
sure.
Ian, where can they find you?
Y'all can find me on all social media platforms at Ian A. Barrett with an underscore at the end.
And you guys can always find me on all platforms at Jasia Robinson, Jasia Robinson, like Jackie.
And don't forget to follow Beat the Maze on all platforms at Beat the Maze Podcast. Share this podcast with somebody, and then make sure that you like, subscribe, leave a review. We'd love to hear from you.
And we'll catch you guys next Monday at 8 a.m.
Y'all have a good one.